Well, good evening once again. It's Monday night. It's 8 p.m. here in Ireland and in the UK. And it's time for the Monday Review Show. Now, for those of you regular watchers, you know what it's all about. But for a lot of new people tuning in, this is a show where Keith and I discuss refereeing issues. And we're not in the business of running down referees, criticizing them or complaining about them, merely trying to point out mistakes that are made and shouldn't be made. And we do our best to tease that out. Now, you're more than welcome to send in your comments. There's a little thing on the right-hand side of your screen where you can leave your comments, or you can ask a question. And when it comes through, I'll certainly read it out on the show. We go out on Facebook, we go out on YouTube, and we go out on Twitter, I think. So just before we started, big thank you to my dear niece, Erin Reese Murphy. You may have seen my original logo, which was a little bit incorrect, as it were, because it gave different times for different places. But now she has fixed all that up for me. So now it's 8 o'clock every Monday night at this time with Keith as my guest. And again, big thank you, Erin, for doing a fantastic job. You redesigned it and it's absolutely brilliant. And there you are. Famous man, Keith Hackett, even gives you a round of applause. Thanks, Keith.
Yeah, right.
So thanks, Erin. Keith, just when when we're going through the week and I'm thinking, goodness, what will we discuss next Monday? And suddenly you have a couple of games and there's loads and loads and loads of issues. I thought I'd maybe concentrate, because it has been quite a bone of contention on one particular aspect of the game. And we'll fill in other things. And if people want to make comments, please leave your comments and we will read them out. I have one from Bernard Foy about refereeing abuse. But let's start with penalties. And we'll start with the one on Saturday. It was Brentford against Liverpool. Now, there was a clear push. I'm not allowed to put up stuff because they shoot me down for, I can't remember the name. Anyway, I'm not use other people's material to show it. But it was a Andy Robertson running into Ivan Toney from Brentford. To me, it was a clear penalty. But the referee said, no, play on. Did you manage to see that particular incident?
Well, it was a clear penalty. I mean, this was a good solid push in the back of Toney. Yeah. It wasn't Toney going down easy. I was a little bit surprised and disappointed because Michael Oliver's the referee. He normally makes these decisions comfortable. I just wonder whether it was a lack of concentration or whether his positioning was out askew. But it raises the issue, why didn't the VAR come in? And then you look at the relationship between a top referee like Oliver and the other referees in the group. And there's this fear that I have, or concern, that says, because it's Michael Oliver, it must be right. I'm not going to come in. And between them, they got it wrong. This was a clear penalty kick. Brentford had every right to be disappointed that this clear penalty was not given. So a poor piece of officiating.
Yeah. Do you think that there is that divide, if you like, between somebody in the VAR at Stockley Park and the referee, and if the referee is a senior guy like Michael Oliver, that they would hesitate in saying, Michael, maybe you should have a look at this?
I think that there's a risk of that taking place. I've mentioned before my concern about the fact that you've got a referee who may referee one day over the weekend, Saturday, say, and then Sunday's VAR. And in between, he's got to travel to the venue of the game, probably on a Friday night, and then on Saturday evening, he's travelling to Middlesex out to London.
Yeah.
So is that good preparation? That's the first point. I don't think it is. I think the second point is that I still firmly believe with the state of VAR, and it's not working in England. However we look at it, it's not working. Then we have for me, the need for a specialist panel. You know, I've talked about this before.
Yeah.
You know, when we looked at assistant referees, we had assistant referees refereeing one day in a lower division, running the line, and we said, look, we want assistant referees to be assistant referees. That's all we want them to do, and we want to concentrate on coaching them. We want to be concentrating on their performance. You know, there was a game this weekend where it took 4.5 minutes to review an offside decision in a game and then award a penalty kick. And the incident was the ball was pushed into the penalty area. The player was clearly in an offside position. He was in the group where the ball was landing, and therefore he was active, in my opinion. The assistant referee correctly put a flag up to say offside, again, in my opinion, and having looked at the review. And then there was a huge delay of 4.5 minutes until they concluded a penalty kick decision. Now, there was holding in the penalty box. There's no question. But it was well after the offside decision. So my concern was, here was an holding offence, yes, but before that, the offside call should have been made. There was no advantage. You know, you're suddenly gone, just a minute, what's going off?
Just for information's sake, Keith, what game was that?
I'll tell you, that was in the Newcastle-Bournemouth game.
Oh, Newcastle-Bournemouth, yeah. That took ages, didn't it?
4.5 minutes.
Why should it take that long?
I don't know. I mean, the system was that you could see from the first camera that the player was offside, but then I think that the assistant's flagged offside, so he's indicating offside. They've checked that. I think they've confirmed he's offside, but then they go on to start reviewing for the penalty kick, and you're going, just a minute, the offside decision, the ball entering, was the first offence.
Yeah.
That was the first offence. He's offside. That, other than if the player's punched, then you get involved in that. But why did they get involved in the penalty kick?
Yeah. And you know, I'm thinking, I'm just wondering, and I know what I'm saying. It's like a rhetorical question because I know the answer. But you know, they say if two incidents happen together, you penalise the more serious. But that's only if it's the same team. Where in the other one, the first one, the offside was there, and this against Newcastle. But then the other one was a penalty for Newcastle. So that scenario doesn't apply.
Yeah.
Surely they should they not have given the offside, because that's the incident that happened first.
Absolutely.
And that would have solved everything.
Absolutely. And you know, I mean, so the concern then is the correct application of law. You know, we talk about Oliver. That was a clear push with some degree of force into the back of a player. That's a penalty kick.
Yeah.
Then we can go on from that one. There was holding. Make no mistake, there was holding offence.
Well, you could see the Newcastle shirt being literally pulled off.
But before that is the offside decision. That's the point I'm making. They finished up giving the penalty kick.
They did, yeah.
And you're going,
yeah.
You know, how did they get there? Yeah, well, and this is the danger that we're in. I feel is that we're fearful in terms of decision-making accuracy, and we're becoming VARs are becoming too forensic in the application. And just think of 4.5 minutes. Just time that on your stopwatch and doing nothing, but you stood in the ground as a fan thinking, what's going off here?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
not only that, of course,
delay, that whole delay undermines the authority of the referee
yeah.
and the match officials, because out comes the shouts of, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, you know, here we have top officials, and I'm seeing every week, and I've said it to you before, and you and I have discussed this. How long do you have to be on the Premier League to get a FIFA badge? And these guys are literally handed their appointment to the SG1 and given a FIFA badge at the same time. So, you know, in our days, certainly in my days over here, you had to be at least 5 years in the Premier League before you were even considered for a FIFA badge.
But I mean, yeah, for sure.
These guys now, I mean, you have an SG1 in the middle of the field, you have an SG1 at Stockley Park, and they can't get this right.
I know.
And even after four odd minutes, they still got it wrong, because the original decision should have stood offside, and that would have cancelled out the penalty. But they just, you know the old saying, when you're in a hole, stop digging. But they just kept digging and then got it totally.
I mean, you know, what worries me is that are these guys, you know, they're very experienced referees. You begin to question their law knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, there are young referees who watch television and they see the same incidents that we're seeing, and they're shouting penalty before they're seniors. Yeah. I mean, if you take that Nottingham Forest incident where there was a deliberate trip on the heel of the forward of Forest, that was a clear foul. It was a penalty kick, not given. And then you start to review the process. Look, on all I've when I was at the PGMOL, the boss, I've reviewed thousands of incidents. And when you look at the high level of percentage of those incidents that were wrong, it's because of the position of the referee. You know, he hasn't got the viewing angle. Yeah. Television, you know, I want to make it clear that television at the elite level exposes every decision.
Yeah.
And they can go back very quickly and replay it. So I'm not suggesting that they're not working in a very tough environment, Premier League referees, where their decisions are forensically examined. But some of the refereeing decisions that they are getting wrong are basic. And then you ask yourself, as you have just done, what's the VAR doing at Stockley Park on that Nottingham Forest penalty kick that wasn't awarded? What was he doing? Then I'm asking, was the fourth official just spectating, or was he having a chat to his mate? You know, I mean, I got a comment from a former colleague who said to me, he was at the Brentford-Liverpool game, and he said, I'm just concerned from an integrity issue that your man in the fourth official box spent most of the time chatting to Jurgen Klopp. And at one stage almost had his arm round him. This didn't look good. I'm a Brentford fan. I'm also neutral in a sense. I apply a lot of common sense. But the picture to people around me, ardent fans, was, look at him. Look at the fourth official.
Yeah.
Look at Klopp. And people have to understand that they're already questioning the integrity of a referees generally, and we have to show that there's no bias. I mean, I'll give you the extreme. I was once doing a European game. It might have been Real Madrid against the Russian team. I'd refereed Real away from Bernabeu Stadium a few months before. And Betragano, the player, had been injured in the game. and I stopped the game very quickly, and the medics came in quickly and sorted him. But let me tell you, as we were at the toss-up in the centre of the field, right? I'm actually on the centre spot, and I'll say coming up towards me, Betragano recognised me and came up and shook my hand as I moved slightly towards him. So I'd moved towards Real Madrid by about 2 meters. And the match assessor, an East German assessor, went bananas with me after the game. It wasn't about the match and how well it had gone. This was, you put your integrity at rest because you moved towards Real Madrid.
Yeah.
You must stand in that position and let them come to you. Don't show or allow any player to see it. Now that's in the extreme.
Yeah. But Keith, I was in South Africa, and I know how suspicious and superstitious they are out there. And if you're even seen to be talking to one team or a player from that team more than anyone else, you're in trouble. You're siding with them. Any decision you give then against them, or you're biased, and so on. So this is why, even with the handshake before the game, I would stop that. I would not allow the referees to shake hands with the players, because no sooner has the game started, and they're down your throat. Absolutely. You've got to be not only neutral, you've got to be seen to be neutral.
Correct.
Keith, let's move on quickly, please. There were 2 more possible penalties, and I know my very good friend, who's just not well at the moment, Declan King, who lives down in Kinsale in County Cork.
A lovely part of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And he lives up on a hill, so he's a beautiful view of the harbour and all that.
Great.
The coming together, I don't know if you saw the game, the coming together between Raheem Sterling and Kyle Walker. Did you happen to see it?
I saw it, very clearly saw it. And Kyle Walker was guilty of an act of simulation.
Declan won't like to hear that at all.
He probably won't. But what Declan's got to realise is Kyle Walker spent a lot of his time living in Sheffield, where I come from. Are there good
simulators in Sheffield?
Yeah. So as a result, he's a wonderful player. Look, I don't want to take anything away from him, but on the one, if I'm thinking he's right, he's actually gone towards, and it might be the wrong one, but certainly the one I comes to mind was when he was at the back of a player, and it might not be Sterling, but at the back of the player, and he went down looking for a penalty kick. That's the one I remember, because I thought that was an ideal opportunity for the referee to underpin his decision by issuing a yellow card. So maybe it's not the penalty that Declan's actually talking about. I'd be interested to know whether that is the case.
Yeah. Okay. And then there was the second one. It definitely appeared in slow motion to be the arm moving towards the ball. Again, it should have been a penalty to Manchester City. Do you remember that one?
I do. And this entire discussion around handball law we've talked about in the past, and it needs review. I mean, in March, the IFAB come together. I don't think handball is on the agenda, which means that they're happy with it. But I think that if they actually look carefully at what's been going off around the world in relation to handball, I mean, very clearly, Roberto Rossetti, UEFA, has declared if the ball strikes the body first and jumps up and strikes the underarm, that I don't want a penalty kick being given for that. And see, so when you come to that decision where there was a hand, now, in my opinion, when again, slow motion exaggerates this thing, but he also can clarify. Yeah. But when you actually when you watch it in slow motion, the hand is moving towards the ball. The player, in my opinion, knows exactly what he's doing, And I think that's one where, you know, I think if I was the boss of the PGMOL, I would be saying to referees or to the VAR, all I want you to do is ask the referee to look at the monitor. I don't want you to tell him why he's looking at the monitor. I don't want you to tell him what your opinion is. Just say, please look at the monitor and let him look at the film clip. And then if he wishes, the referee can say, why have you brought me to the monitor?
Yeah. Isn't that a strange?
Yeah.
Isn't that a strange statement from Rossetti? If it hits the body and then goes to the arm, it's not a handball. But I mean, if they hit your body and you do that, I mean, I find
that throughout the handball law, and it's there in writing, the word deliberate, a movement of the hand to the ball, and that's the line that referees should concentrate on.
And in this instance, the ball, it did hit the body, but then you could see the arm moving.
He's moving. He's
towards the ball.
He's moved the hand and arm. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's trying to clear the ball.
Sure.
But I, you know, when I was promoting the idea of VAR being good, it was because I wanted referees to have balance between a spectator watching on television in order to be able to go and have another look, because I'm basing it on the fact that a lot of decisions, errors, are made because the referee doesn't see. But what we're getting that's a penalty kick or that's not a penalty kick. Well, the man in the VAR room, it's easy to say it's not a penalty kick. I don't know what these referees feel after the game when they review it and say, well, if I'd have seen that, I'd have given a penalty.
Yeah.
Oh, the referee's not retaining the ownership, in my opinion, of the decisions in the VAR operation. I'm moving.
But then we should actually do what the rugby guys are doing, and we said this before, and say to VAR, my on-field decision is no penalty. Is there any reason why I should change my mind? Simple and straightforward, instead of this whole thing that drags on to over 4 minutes in recent times. And in fact, there was one review incident a few months back that went to 5 minutes and 27 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean,
nonsense.
I
mean, I talked the other day because I'm saying if they bring in the semi-automated system, which gives you the offside position, in that situation, you know, we ought to be able to say to referees, and you can do it as the boss of the PGMOL. Howard Webb is in a position to say, look, guys, we're gonna ask the fourth official to run the clock on this. You got 30 seconds to make your mind up. And you know, UEFA have taken this view, and FIFA, it doesn't matter how long it takes, we want the decision to be right. Well, I think that whilst that's an honourable suggestion, when it gets beyond a minute, the decision starts losing credibility.
Of course, yeah.
And therefore, I think that you've got to say there's got to be a time frame on it.
Yeah. The red card in the Sheffield United game, horrendous.
Well, I mean, look, this is a clear red card. This fulfilled everything about excessive force, endangering the safety of the opponent. The player launched himself at speed off the ground, 2 feet. It doesn't matter about the landing area. It already committed it before it hit the player. And it was really waist high. It was just below the waist.
Actually, I think he caught him on the knee.
Yeah,
caught him on the side of
because he was coming after having flown through the air.
Yeah, off his feet. Yeah.
He was coming down.
And the thing is, Keith, is that Stuart Atwell was no more than 10 yards away and looking almost at it, and then issues a yellow card. And it really gets my blood boiling that the player being penalized has this look of incredulity on his face. He can't, when he knows, surely and clearly knows what he did was wrong. But then again, why did it take so long for Stuart Atwell to go to the monitor, change his mind, and come back with that's surely is bringing the whole VAR system into disrepute.
I thought he was very lucky because it was such a bad challenge. It bordered on horrendous. They had malice in it. There was malice in that challenge.
Yeah.
And I think the great thing was that the player who was on the receiving end didn't come, was able to get up and continue to play.
Yeah.
I think he was a rather fortunate player. When you actually look at that decision, he was in a good position. He got a good view. He wasn't too close. It fulfilled the law, and you just cannot understand why it took so long. But it was also lucky on the major point, and that is there was a risk of players seeing that the punishment wasn't right, coming in and taking retribution. And it was avoided, luckily, but he shouldn't have had to go to the monitor to review that. That was a red card from minute one.
All day long.
And when you look at Atwell's, in fairness to him, as a referee, I don't like using the word card happy to get over the view, but this is a referee who is at times he's strict. At times, he can be strict, he can be forceful, but the thing that I see running through a number of referees is a lack of authority, and that lack of authority is through hesitancy. He hesitated the decision. And I liken it to a fire engine. It's like parking the fire engine 200 yards away from the fire and putting the hose on. And what that does is it's a spray by the time it hits the fire. It oxygenates and the fire gets more intense. Referees have to get in there. They have to be firm, body language positive, whistle blown, and the whistle should say, that's a red card. You and I, when we're coaching young referees, we talk about the tone, the volume, and the length of the blast, so that you use the whistle as a tool to communicate, because the whistle stops the game. Basic refereeing, but he didn't apply basic refereeing. I didn't hear the whistle.
Yeah, I had a comment during the week from a guy who's saying it appears like the referees in the Premier League are stepping back from dishing out cards and trying to keep all 11 on the field as much as they can. Is there any instruction like that coming down from on high?
No, it was the reverse. In fairness, Howard Webb made it very clear at the beginning of the season that one of the things that he would be firm with was dissent, and that he warned the clubs, and he warned the managers, and he warned the players that there would be a strict enforcement of that particular aspect of law. Have you seen it? I've seen one or two younger referees applying it, but not in the main. No, incidentally, on the yellow card count, the last time I looked, the average had moved from round about 3 per game up to close to 5. So
but they're ineffectual, aren't they, Keith? I mean, those yellow cards are ineffectual because, maybe it's a good idea that the blue card does come in soon.
Well,
because that will reduce the team to 10 players for 10 minutes. Where a yellow card is, well, you take one now. Oh, hold on, you got a card. I'll take it the next time. So they're taking one for the team, and it's of little or no effect, except when it gets to 5.
You're absolutely right, and this is years old. I mean, I can remember in my time going into Europe, where 2 yellow cards accumulation over a couple of games or 3 games, the player would be suspended automatically.
Yeah.
Now, what you've got in England, that's about 5.
Yeah.
So that automatically weakens the yellow card. But if you actually are a reactive referee rather than a proactive referee, then you will actually issue more yellow cards by the very nature that you've allowed the game to go out of control, and then you start trying to arrest it by using yellow cards. And we see that all too often. You know, look. I'm for a good working relationship built on the field of play through respect. But you know, if you've got a weak policeman on the streets, he's going to be ineffective. If policemen, as they are managed and controlled, they do the job generally, we're slightly fearful of them. And I think that's where we want referees to be. Players want to be slightly fearful. You know, I say to referees, and it's echoed by the fact that Mark Clattenburg this weekend has been appointed by Nottingham Forest as an advisor. Now, I think that's quite a good move. And the reason because that is the club saying, I can prepare and understand the referee that's going to referee our match on Saturday, and we'll take advantage of a weak referee.
Well, remember this
because you know, Mark Clattenburg. I mean, I can remember Jack Taylor saying to me at Leeds, I was running the line, and he said, "I've heard that Don Revie thinks I'm weak on 10 yards. You watch me today. You watch me today. You watch me secure 10 yards to the inch," is what he said. And he did. He did exactly the opposite of what he'd heard that Revie thought about Jack Taylor. And
do you remember?
So, you know,
do you remember a Scottish guy who was coaching in South Africa and sadly has now passed away, called Joe Frickleton?
Yes, yes.
We had him at one of our referee seminars in South Africa, and he stood up there in his best Scottish accent. I remember him pointing his finger. He said, "I know all of you guys. I have files on all of you guys. I know who'll give me a penalty and who won't. I know who'll give a red card and who won't. That's my job." And they do. They know the weak referees and they know the strong referees. And when you get things like this happening, as I've shown many, many times in the past, well, hello, where's the respect?
Yeah, none. And of course, that cost Andy D'Urso his career on the Premier League. I mean, I had to downgrade him for his own good because he never got over that.
No.
But you know, I mean, I think that there is management, and you know, good people who run a business in the business world are strong managers who are successful. Weak managers. They're people who can go on the shop floor, recognize everybody. Hi, Harry, John, how you doing? And how's the family and all that?
Yeah.
But if that man on the shop floor is not producing, he's out on his ear.
Now, Bernard Foy is from, I mentioned Donegal. He's talking about ref abuse and the abuse that referees are getting and sadly taking. And Marcus has put up, Marcus put up a thing here, just a brief return to a previous show where we were discussing dissent. I officiated 3 elite underage 11-a-side games at the weekend in Dublin. It was astonishing to me, even at this elite top level league games at grassroots level, that dissent seemed acceptable. On one instance, I overheard a player on the far side of the pitch shout out an obscenity. I stopped play immediately, approached the offending player and gave a yellow card. Accordingly, I gave him my reasons for the booking and so on. That's good refereeing because foul language is foul and abusive language can be up to a red card. And well done, Marcus, and keep up the good work.
And he raised a very good point that what happens on a Sunday and Saturday at Premier League level cascades down and makes life very difficult. What happens at the IFAB when they rewrite the handball law and the offside law? You know, I look at the offside law, you know, active and non-active and deliberate play and all these things. If you're a referee in local football with no assistants or club linesmen, as we call them, you wonder how they actually apply that particular law, because it's complicated in its extreme in terms of its application. And we're seeing elite assistant referees on the Premier League delaying the flag for so long that when they put it up, it loses credibility.
Yeah.
The
US, just to touch on them because we do have viewers from the USA, the referees at the MLS talking about going on strike.
Well, as I got a note today to confirm that they are going on strike, and that there's a 95% vote in favor of going on strike. I think this is disappointing. I think it's disappointing that the game will suffer, and it will bring into disrepute because the MLS have, whether it's the MLS or another organization, but a striking in America has taken place before, and they brought in referees, and they're already, with the MLS starting very shortly, I think this week, CONCACAF also, they're going to have to bring in sub refs now. I just wonder.
I think the last time they brought in referees from Costa Rica.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what they'll do, and I worry about that because you have to say, how much money are the MLS actually putting into the refereeing organization? Remembering that it's the Premier League are at 26 million in 2022 in their set of published accounts, and I would have hoped that mediation could have resolved this issue. I know that employment law in America is different to England and all that goes with it. The employee has a great deal of strength. I know that Dan Garber's view is he wants the MLS to be the best league in the world. The last thing he would want, I would have thought, was referees going on strike. And the last time this happened, I'm reliably informed by American that some of those referees never returned to the game. They decided that's it, and that's the risk. And we're talking about professional referees here.
And it's disappointing also that there are some guys coming in to what I think Arthur Scargill used to say, scab labor, to do the games, which is not good for the refereeing fraternity, because it causes a division there. And I mean, we're a small enough family as it is. We need to stick together, be it for strike or non-strike, whatever, but they should stick together to ensure that there's cohesion and cooperation between the referees and the assistant referees. The MLS should be making enough money. I don't know what the conditions are that the current referees.
I don't. I've actually asked somebody to find out because mediation is where they need to be. It is different, of course, in America because of the distances that they travel. The pro referee in America operates very similar to a UEFA referee. In Europe, where it tends to be a 2 or 3 day. A game takes 2 or 3 days. Travel there, referee, travel back, and I've experienced that. You're spending a great deal of time away from the family, and one suspects that they, as referees, are probably comparing it again with the other sports because when you look at American football, you look at baseball. These have been long-time professional groups of match officials, whatever capacity they're running, and no doubt their salaries probably at a higher level, I would think. So, look, come on, guys. Both sides, get your heads together. Referees want a referee. They don't want to get involved. They want a reasonable pay, don't they? And therefore, I generally think that I'm not taking sides here because as a business, what can you afford?
Keith, as always, many, many thanks. Went on a little bit longer, but that's okay. Lots of things to discuss. And for you out there watching, thank you very much once again for tuning in. We'll do it all again next Monday. And a final big thank you to Aaron for my new promo. Till next Monday, 8 p.m., usual place, usual time. Goodbye and God bless. Thank you, Keith.
Goodbye. Take care.